Proud Arts.
Alright, in this video we're going to take a look at Unreal Engine 5's new technology called Nanite. This is their virtualized micropolygon geometry. And what this is going to allow the engine to do is stream in static meshes. Currently they have the technology in the engine where it streams in textures. And what the streaming technology does is when you're further away, if you're walking around in the world and you're further away from something, it's going to have a lower resolution texture on it. And as you get closer, it'll start streaming it in for higher textures. So you could get like 1080p or 4K or 8K. And the reason that technology is so great is because if you tried to have high resolution textures for everything in the game in memory at once, you couldn't do it. There wouldn't be enough memory. So you can just stream it in as you get closer and then stream it out. And so the same thing is going to happen with the Nanite for static meshes. As you get closer to something, it's going to stream in the higher detail. So you can have extremely high detail or a lot of high polygon count for a static mesh, and as you get further away from it, it'll go down. And they currently have that technology, and what they currently use now. And also, before we jump over to that, let's take a look at a Nanite. You know, what does that name mean? And I haven't seen anything from Unreal themselves on it, but Nanite is actually short for nanorobotics. So it's interesting. But if anybody knows how they got that name, if they're just throwing around names and they came up with that, it'd be neat to know. So let's go ahead and go into Unreal Engine and see how it's currently done. And so how the pipeline works is, let's say you have a static mesh that you want to bring into the world and you've created in a 3D program. Well, some of these static meshes can be huge with extremely high polygon count. And currently, when you bring it in, you have to set it up, because if in your world, in the game world, if LODs or streaming technology is not used on the static meshes themselves, you would never be able to render the scene, because there could be billions of triangles, and the processor there's no way it could process that many triangles per scene. So let's take a look how they do it now. So currently you can set up what's called LODs, level of details, on these static meshes. So on this static mesh, you can see that there's 5,310 triangles on LOD1, and LOD1 is when you're right up close to it, and you can set the screen size. So if you look at the top left hand corner, you'll see we're on LOD0, which is the highest, and then as we move back, you can see it starts to change to LOD3. Now there's 54 triangles and 57 vertices. And so as you go further and further back, and once you get so far back, there's very little detail. But it does take time for the developers to go through each one of these and set them up. So for instance, a billboard you have to set up, and it's only 2 triangles. And so when you're really far back, you're really not going to be able to see that that's a billboard at all. So again, so basically what their new technology is going to do is take over setting up all this manually for the LOD. You can just drag stuff in, and as it's further in the distance, it'll just stream it out. And as you get closer to it, this is exactly what it's going to do to it. As you see on the left, as the triangles count goes up and down for the polygons, that's going to stream it in, and closer you get, the higher resolution or detail. And this tree is only 5,300 triangles, but you can consider they're going to have some things with millions of triangles for one object. So you can imagine if you had millions of triangles and thousands of them, you wouldn't be able to process it all. So that's basically the way it works in a nutshell. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to ask in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.